Hey everyone, Morgan here. Can you hear me all right? I had problems logging in.
Yep, we can hear you. I think you're under Karina.
Yes, yeah, I did not receive a link for this, so I had to use Karina.
Oh, darn. Okay, I'll rename you.
Thank you.
Did I spell your last name right? Morgan. Heather's nodding, so yeah, I did. Okay. Okay, I'm going to go ahead and start the meeting, everyone. If you all would like to turn on your cameras, counselors. So I am going to call the Parks and Conservation Committee of October 28th to order. We continue to meet virtually. As you can see, you can join the webinar at ci.missoula.mt.us/webcasts. You can also, if you're unable to attend, you can also leave a voicemail for all of council at 406-552-6012 or send an email to all of council at council@ci.missoula.mt.us. If you are joining this webinar by phone, to raise and lower your hand, you'll need to press *9, and I will announce it when we're taking public comment, which will of course be shortly. And okay, you can stop sharing the screen now, I think. And I am going to do roll call. Anderson. I don't see Anderson, but I think she's coming back. Becerra. Sarah's not here. Stacy Anderson is here. Contos is
here.
Present. Right. I've got, can't see. Harp is present. Hess is present. Jones is present. Merritt is, I know I saw her, is present. Jesse Ramos is present. Cheryl is present. Oh, there she is. Okay. Vasika is present. Von Lossberg is not present, and West is present. So I think we are missing Mirta and Von Lossberg and Brian currently, but I think Mirta is going to join us here shortly. So we have minutes to approve from October 21st. Are there any changes to those minutes? Okay, seeing none, I am going to, those are going to stand approved. So I'm going to take public comments for items that are not on the agenda and that obviously pertain to Parks and Conservation, since this is the Parks and Conservation Committee. So if you are an attendee and you would like to make public comment on things other than Dean Stone, because that is our one agenda item today, go ahead and raise your hand. And again, if you're joining by phone, you can push *9 to do that. Okay, I am not seeing any public comment on anything that is not on the agenda. We do have just one item on the agenda today, and this is the Dean Stone Corridor open space acquisition. But today we are only setting a public hearing The recommended motion at least is that we set a public hearing for November 23rd. And so we have, Grant, are you here? Yeah, there you are. So Grant is Carlton is going to go ahead and give us a presentation, and then Payla Hoyt from Five Valleys is going to give us a presentation as well. So Grant, why don't you start us off?
Sure. Can you guys hear me okay?
Yep.
Yeah, sorry, my video I think was slowing down the feed, so today. Yeah, so as Amber said, so Grant Carlton, Open Space Program Manager, City of Missoula Parks and Recreation, here to talk about the Deanstone Corridor Open Space Acquisition Project. And as Amber said, we are requesting to set a public hearing to adopt a resolution to expend $462,500 of the city's portion of the 2018 open space bond proceeds, as well as $465,500 of anonymous open space estate gift funds, which I will talk about a little bit in a moment, for a total of $925,000 to acquire the Deanstone Corridor property. Logistics. So I'm just going to do a quick round of intros, talk about the project very high level, and then Payla and I will jump into a presentation sort of jointly. I do so the project sponsor here is Five Valleys Land Trust, as you guys know, in partnership with the City of Missoula Parks and Rec. I have here with me, of course, Payla Hoyt, the lands director, and Whitney Schwab, the executive director of Five Valleys Land Trust. And I don't know how this exactly works, but can we get Payla panelist access? We talked to Marty about, I don't know exactly what.
Yeah, actually, Payla's, Payla's already in the meeting, Grant. So she's here. So if you guys want to, however you guys want to do the presentation together or separate is great. But Grant, you were cutting out a bit. Would you repeat the amounts from both the open space bond and the gift?
Sure. Yeah, so we're requesting a total of $925,000, $462,500 from the 2018 open space bond, as well as $462,500 from the anonymous open space gift, which I will discuss in detail in just a moment. And so just quickly, we're really excited about this project. Obviously, I think this project sort of began in earnest back in 2014. Correct me if I'm wrong, Payla. And there's been, it's, I think, impossible to quantify the amount of sweat equity that has gone into this project from both Five Valleys perspective, the city's perspective, the whole team at Parks and Rec, countless community partners, and sort of private citizens. And so here we are today, and I just want to give a shout out to Five Valleys Land Trust. They've been super professional and just excellent leaders for this project. I want to thank them for their generous donation. They're donating a large portion of the project budget here, which we will get into in more detail later in the presentation. So I just want to thank that organization, their board and staff. And I think that this project checks a lot of boxes. I think it will garner lots and lots of community support, as you can see from the attached staff. Those are again in the packet for this project. The countless benefits from the obvious ones of recreation and connectivity, 350 acres of open space potentially added to the open space portfolio of the city, up to 5 new miles of trail, habitat protection, corridors used by a variety of wildlife species, which we'll talk about more in a moment. And also down to the social equity and inclusion piece, which is sort of something that we try to infuse in every project that we do at Parks and Rec, through increased programming capacity. And then also ecosystem services, through sort of, containing development in the urban core, allowing the efficient extension of services. And so managing growth there as well. And this project builds on decades of open space and conservation work in the greater area, from Mount Sentinel, which was an open space, which I think was funded by the first open space bond in the city, Creek, and beyond. And there's lots of other work going on Mount Deanstone to, sort of connecting that whole greater area, obviously including the South Hill Spur access and Sousa trailheads. So the sort of the connectivity opportunities and possibilities are endless in the area. And I just also wanted to highlight quickly just how unique this sort of this whole area is, including the partnerships around this project. A mosaic of cross-functional partnerships and land managers in this area. So we've got, you know, the Line family who we've been working with has a conservation easement. There's other sort of agricultural conservation easements in the area. We've got the Nature Conservancy land on the backside. We've got United States Forest Service land, University of Montana land, the city land, obviously, Montana DNRC, private landowners. So this is just a really cool mosaic of open space conservation and recreational opportunities. And with that, I think I will turn it over to Pela.
All right. Hello, Chairwoman Cheryl and other members of the Parks and Conservation Committee. Thank you for considering this proposal. I'm going to attempt to share my screen here. And we'll get to see some pretty pictures and maps. So the Mountain Stone Corridor promotes social equity, health, and wellness. It will help us adapt to climate change, and it will help Missoula plan for sustainable growth that is responsive to community needs. And it includes 350 acres, as Grant said, and as well as a nearly 5-mile trail, the majority of which we've already constructed. And here's just a little portion of what some of that trail corridor looks like. And the public process started back in 2019, back when it was safe to all squeeze together for a photo and meet in real life. And Grant will provide an overview of how that public process has played out thus far. Grant?
Sorry, I was on mute there, sorry. Slide there. Let's see.
You're cutting out a little bit.
Can you guys hear me?
Yeah, you're cutting out, Grant. I had a little hard time hearing you earlier as well.
Let's see. Can you guys hear me now?
Yeah, we can still hear you.
Okay. Yeah, so just a quick public process overview, some of the background. So we did have unanimous approval for recommendation from the Open Space Advisory Committee back in March at the requested funding levels. And prior to that, we took this project before the Parks and Recreation Board in March as well. And in the context of that sort of approval was the recognition of the actual gift of the corridor trail. So as we'll talk about in just a moment, the actual expenses for the construction of the trail were generously donated by Five Valleys Land Trust. And so we wanted to make sure that Park Board, sort of understood that component of it. And so they did recognize the gift, including the fact that the city would be responsible for the long-term management, of course, pending Open Space Advisory Committee and City Council approval of the acquisition itself. And then also contingent upon the development of a recreation management plan by the Conservation Lands Advisory Committee, as well as confirmation that the trail meets city specifications. And the Conservation Lands Advisory Committee was out on site in June this summer, and they are currently in the process. They've met they've met a couple of times now, and they're in the process of developing a recreation management plan for the corridor. And something that's worth noting is that this is not sort of a scratch-made recreation management plan. Back when we developed the South Hill Spur Recreation Management Plan, it was contemplated that sort of movement, that open space area would just naturally move into the Deanstone area. And so it was always contemplated that the Deanstone Corridor Rec Management Plan would be an extension of the South Hill Spur Rec Management Plan. And that's sort of what we're going to see as CLAC develops that plan.
All right, back to me, Grant.
Yep.
All right, so just to get ourselves oriented, the corridor is located on the southeast portion of town. Here's the South Hill Spur, and here's the corridor lands outlined in orange and white right here, kind of stretching up the top. Here's the top of Mount Dean Stone and the communication towers at the top of the mountain, which are excluded from this proposal. And then the corridor connects up with about 2,500 acres of Nature Conservancy land that goes on the south flank of Mount Dean Stone down to Miller Creek and also to the upper Patty Canyon area. And then zooming in a little bit more. So again, here's those corridor lands in orange and white. Here's the South Hill Spur right here. And this is the Barmeyer Trailhead, the Sousa Trailhead. Then here's the overlook right here. And back in 2015, it was just expected that both the South Hill Spur and these lands right here would be developed for residential use that would be kind of high-end, low-density residential use. And there's actually a 10-lot residential subdivision right here on this first part of the corridor properties. And the landowners and the owners of that were moving forward with developing that, that subdivision when we were working with the city on the South Hill Spur. And the landowners were inspired by the conservation that they saw taking place underneath. And they asked Five Valleys if we would be willing to and interested in acquiring the property, their subdivision property, for conservation purposes instead. And we saw an opportunity there to enhance the values of the South Hill Spur property, because the access road for the subdivision actually goes through the South Hill Spur. So by conserving this and eliminating that subdivision, we could reduce impacts on the South Hill Spur. We also saw an opportunity to actually create this trail corridor and get up around the top of the mountain and then connect up with these Nature Conservancy lands on the backside. And so over the last 4 years, we have put together this corridor right here. It's actually 7 different properties. So we didn't buy this just at one time. We bought it from 7 different property owners. And in the process, we worked closely with the city Parks and Recreation staff, as well as other, and got input from other experts as well, and neighbors and other people, so that we were able to design a trail corridor where we did the trail design and the real estate acquisitions and designed them together. And we did it so that we could, really enhance the values to the South Hill Spur, the existing open space lands, so we could provide an exceptional recreational experience for the public. We worked hard to reduce impacts on other conservation values and also design this in such a way so that we could reduce impacts on neighboring properties as well. And we invested in this just because it advances so many public policy goals. And so it advances the public policy goals of the Missoula Urban Area Open Space Plan, the City Growth Policy, Climate Ready Missoula, the Missoula County Community Wildfire Protection Plan, and the Montana State Wildlife Action Plan as well. And as you know, the Missoula Urban Area Open Space Plan, it establishes corridors that are the areas of high conservation value and just value to the Missoula community. And this map shows the corridors here in green. And here's the location of the Dean Stone corridor within one of those open space corridors that's established by the Missoula Urban Area Open Space Plan. And the corridor promotes the health and wellness goals that are really clearly laid out in the open space plan. And that's because of that 5-mile trail corridor that will be possible with this proposal. That 5-mile trail corridor will provide both physical and mental health benefits. And it's also provide a place that helps build community in our area. I think that so many of us have gone into the outdoors, especially in these last challenging few months, and talk through tough stuff or build memories with folks. And these are the places where we really can also build ties with the people in our lives. And the corridor also has social equity benefits just because of the nature of the trail that we built on the property. The trail is built at an 8% grade, which is a moderate grade and kind of less steep than some of the other trails around Missoula. full disclosure here, this is a photo of my mom, and it is taken up on the Sousa Trail. And the Sousa Trail is built to the same design specifications as the trail that we built on the other portions of the corridor with that nice moderate grade. My mom loves that trail just because it is so accessible for her. And, you know, as our community ages, it will be important to provide places for people at many different stages in their lives. And this can help meet one of those just because of its accessibility. And then there's also social equity benefits associated with the expanded programming opportunities on this trail. And this was a portion that Grant is going to speak to. Grant?
Grant, are you still with us? Hold on.
Get the mute off.
He may not be with us in a second. Oh, he's still here. Grant, you're on mute if you're.
Bayla, this is Donna Gockler, Director of Parks and Recreation. And if you want to advance to the next screen, I think I can talk about social equity and programming for Parks and Recreation while Grant figures out his connection. So sorry, everybody. One of the challenges, of course, of the time. As all of you know, Parks and Recreation is a very robust recreation program. We have always found that in parks and through parks and open spaces is where citizens from every background are most likely to meet, and to meet in a positive setting for growth and renewal. We find more and more these spaces during the pandemic have been truly people's sanity and their hope. And so as our programs have continued to grow, including programs like Base Camp childcare during the pandemic, we see wonderful opportunity to expand more into outdoor environmental education, sustainable outdoor recreation, development of etiquette, and bringing individuals from all walks of life in our community, all including people of color, our LGBTQ plus community, aging populations, and especially those who are experiencing significant challenges with socioeconomics these days. We have these new lands give us opportunities to expand programs. As it is today, we are pretty limited to use of federal lands for large landscape type programs in true, if you will, forest-based outdoor recreation. And so by having these properties under city ownership, we're able to continue to expand those programs and reach even more people.
Thank you, Donna. Did you want to add anything more?
I think I'm good unless the next slide has Grant up as well.
He doesn't, no.
Guys, I'm back. I'm really sorry. I'm not sure. I'm just having technical difficulties over here. I was yapping away. Thanks, Donna.
No problem.
All right, thank you. And turning to climate change and wildfire adaptation, this is a photo of the Lolo Peak fire from 2017. Mount Dean Stone is in the foreground of this fire. As we all have experienced and will continue to experience, climate change is increasing the risk of wildfire in our community. And the Missoula County Community Wildfire Protection Plan, a little bit of a mouthful there, they've designated the lands where the corridor is located as either high wildfire risk or very high wildfire risk. And that Community Wildfire Protection Plan and Climate Smart Missoula both recommend reducing residential development in these high wildfire risk areas. And that will reduce the risk to structures, but also reduce the risk to first responders who may be called to protect these structures. You know, and on this property, the residential development potential, you know, it's not just theoretical. I've included this here. This is a plat showing the development proposal for the 10 lot residential development right above the South Hill Spur in this high wildfire risk area. And there are other residences that could be built on other portions of the property that are also in high wildfire risk areas. And so this project would eliminate that residential development and also that potential risk to first responders in our area. And then the trail, it goes through all these different forested types. It's mostly on forested land. And so it will be a place where people can walk in a shady place and get exercise in a shady place that I think will be appealing as our summers get warmer and our falls get warmer, and it might be too hot to get out onto the open hillsides. And then there's habitat values to this conservation proposal as well, both in the montane grasslands and in the forested land. The local chapter, the Audubon Society, did a couple of bird surveys on the upper portions of the property. And in those surveys, they saw yellow-rumped warblers, which are pictured here in this photo. And there just was a strong representation of breeding migrant songbirds, including 6 different warbler species and vireos and thrushes. There's also forest hawks that use it, and bear. Get some elk use, not a lot, but there are habitat values as well on this project. And you know, I think is what we are aware of, and I know you all are very aware that we have competing uses for land in our community. And this is a project about being really smart about what we do where, about making sure we're not conserving land that might be more appropriate for homes, and making sure that we can also meet our open space recreation needs. And so so these lands, as I've mentioned, are not appropriate for residential development because of both their high wildfire risk, but also just because they're farther from the urban center. And the growth policy sets a course for growing inward, you know, down here on the valley floor. And this is by developing in this area here, this is where we can more effectively and efficiently meet our affordable housing needs. The lands on the corridor are not appropriate for affordable housing. You just can't get affordable housing when it's that far away and on steep ground. But these lands can help meet our growing needs for places to connect with the natural world and to recreate. And they really will help provide this critical infrastructure because we need trails too. And I think that during the pandemic, we just got a sense of how much demand there will be in the future for recreation. And while we're not there yet, we know that is coming. And so this is a way that we can help meet that growing need for recreation in the future. And I'll go over the budget here. So the real estate value on the 7 different properties is valued at over 1.9 million. The transaction costs on this project are quite a bit higher than on other ones, just because it was 7 different properties that we had to piece together. The development of the trail is valued at $80,000. That's how much it cost us to build it, and we're donating that value. And then our project facilitation over the last 4+ years is $370,000. And then in terms of the request, the total is $925,000 that we're requesting, with half of that from the 2018 open space bond, and then half of that from the open space estate gift. And I know that Grant was going to talk a little bit about that, and we'll see if he can chime in here now.
Thanks, Kayla. Can you guys hear me?
Can.
Okay, excellent. So I just wanted to touch briefly on the open space estate gift. So back in June of 2019, the city of Missoula received an estate gift from a donor that preferred to remain unnamed, and this was a resident, a longtime resident of the South Hills area, who really valued wild and scenic open space around the Missoula Valley. And so this gift was in the amount of approximately $1.14 million. So the intent that gift carried was for use specifically for acquisition, management, maintenance, and improvement of trails traversing the wild open space in and around the city of Missoula. And the letter that sort of accompanied that gift further sort of mentioned Dean Stone specifically in the South Hills, sort of as an example of an excellent use of these funds. And that letter stated that a portion of these funds might be used to acquire open space land in the South Hills and on Mount Dean Stone, and for associated trail and trailhead development on that land. So the Dean Stone corridor, the South Hills were specifically mentioned in the intent of that gift. And so we did take this through the sort of the Parks and Rec staff ranks, as well as the Open Space Advisory Committee. And we determined that the Dean Stone corridor would be, obviously an excellent fit for this gift. And so I also got the question, why didn't we request the full funds from this gift? And essentially, we wanted to use this project to leverage other acquisitions or management projects in the area. As you guys know, we've got a need for parking in the South Hill Spur area as that sort of portfolio grows. And again, we just wanted to use the Dean Stone corridor as sort of a flagship project and for further expansion, as well as managing and maintaining the lands that we already own and manage.
Thank you, Grant. Are you done? Anything else, Grant?
No, I guess while we're sort of on that note, a bit of a tangent, I just wanted to mention that we've got Morgan Valiant on the call to answer any questions related to sort of stewardship and future management of these lands.
Okay, thanks.
Great. Are you all done, Pila?
I just have a few more slides.
Okay, great. I want to save some time for council questions as well as public comment, and we have until noon. So
Oh
just
man,
kind of
okay.
to give
Well,
you our timeline of where we are.
I will be super quick then. Thank you. So I wanted to draw your attention to the donated component of this because the community support on this project has been significant. Hundreds of Missoula residents and dozens of businesses, partnering organizations and agencies have invested and celebrated in the conservation of Mount Dean Stone. They've pulled weeds, they've designed trails, they've shared their expertise, and it's because of their support that we're able to bring this $1.6 million in match to the table. I will zip through this super fast. Just a couple features I wanted to point out. This is a little view of the trail. At the top, there is the area opens up into the subalpine meadow, and there's beautiful views to the north. Going around the top, there's also an overlook where you can see up the Bitterroot Valley on clear days. That's just stunning. I have a short video to show you all, but if we're short on time, perhaps I should wait on that and we could show it if we have time later. It will also be on the Engage Missoula site. What would you prefer there, Amber?
I'm excited to see the video, but I think let's, in case we have a number of council questions, I really think that it's important that we get those questions done. So let's wait on that.
Yeah, okay.
And how long is that video, just for future reference?
It's less than 2 minutes.
Okay, great. So let's find a time that we can show that though, because I think it'd be good for people to see. Will you stop sharing your screen just so I can see everyone coming up and see?
Oh yeah, I just wanted to close out by just pointing out there's also, here's the trail on the corridor. We're also working on other trails that can connect up with this trail. So this is just one. So there'll be many other trails that can connect up with this going forward in the future. So I will just close with a photo from one of the volunteer days where folks did finish work and ask the city of Missoula to join with the community members who invested so much in this opportunity. Thank you.
Great,
I will stop
thank
sharing
you.
my screen.
Yeah, that'd be great. So first of all, I'm excited that this project is coming together. It has been, I think 2014 is probably right. And it has taken a lot of partners and a lot of work from Five Valleys. I want to give kudos and also thanks to Pela as well as those partners for endless hours of work on this project. I also want to give a little shout out to the former executive director, Grant Keir. This was his brainchild and it was a big vision. And so it has taken a lot of different people over a very long period of time to get this together. I think I'm going to echo a couple of points that Pela had made. In a time that recreation space is at a premium, I think this is a great project coming forward. This area, and also echo the point that, this area would not have been a good option for affordable housing. It would much more likely have been larger homes on bigger pieces of property. There are no services, there's no infrastructure, there's high wildfire risk. It would not meet our transportation goals to have a bunch of houses up there either. So as we look at it as a council, I think we need to keep that in mind. I also just want to say that this was a big piece of the open space bond campaign in 2018. And I definitely feel like it's a piece of what they voted for when they passed that resoundingly in the city. So again, thanks to all the partners. I have a couple questions. I'm curious, Pela, if you could tell us kind of what extent the trail has been built so far, as well as any fire mitigation efforts that have already taken place up there.
Yep. So the majority of the trail has been built. It's about 4 miles of trail, of which about a half mile of that is on an old existing roadbed. So I guess it's about 3.5 miles of just single track. And then there's 1 more mile of trail that has not been built yet. That's because Morgan wants to spend more time working with with CLAC to determine the best route for that. But whenever they are ready for that to be built, we will be happy to build it if that's what would be helpful. Oh, and then for fire mitigation, last fall, we were able to complete a forest health management project on the lower portion of the project. And that is intended to improve forest health, closest in by the city, and also to reduce wildfire risk on those lands.
Great, thank you. And thanks for bringing this. Again, we are just voting today to set a public hearing, so there will be more time for questions and more time for additional information. But I would say if you have any questions that you feel like you need answered, let's get those on the table today in case we need to have someone do some research and get back with us. So I'm going to take council questions and then I will go to attendee comments. And I see one hand up right now. And Sandy, go ahead.
Thanks. I'm curious, and I've had some constituents reach out to me. They're curious if there's any room in the budget for any refuse that accumulates there. There's concern about drug use up there. If there's room in the budget to clean up any needles or any things like that, as well as trash, if it'll be like if there's plan for that and how often it will be.
Donna, do you want to answer that?
My apologies. Morgan may want to speak to that, but yes, we have the Conservation and Stewardship Mill Levy. We find that these large preserves are quite, significantly less costly for maintenance on the day-to-day basis than any of our developed parks where visitation is so much greater. We generally make site visits to trailheads at least weekly, more frequently during the busy season. I don't anticipate this particular trail and site being a significant challenge related to needles or trash or parties. We do a lot around the idea of design with CPTED, crime prevention through environmental design. Access to these trailheads are past neighbors' homes. And neighbors do a wonderful job of watching those trailheads, and we partner with them and with our good neighbor policy. So we feel ready. We feel that Five Valleys has done a wonderful job working with partners to bring a trail that's sustainable and maintainable. We think we're ready to go.
And I would add, just from a process standpoint, that is something that that Conservation Lands Advisory Committee will specifically be addressing in the management plan.
Great, thank you. Stacy.
Thank you so much, Madam Chair. I don't see any other questions from my fellow council members. And given that this is in the South Hills area, I would love to make the motion to set the public hearing for this to move forward. And I'd like to speak to the motion if possible.
Absolutely, go ahead.
So yes, I think that I can not probably say it better than Donna or Pela or Grant, but we are so lucky in Missoula for so many reasons. Our access to open space continues to be one of a list of so many. And I think that, as we all have grown weary of staying indoors and staying distance, our access to our public lands has just has been our getaway, our, walking on a trail in the beautiful nature. Life for that beautiful period of time seems normal. And it is such a gift. And I'm so excited to see the hard work that has come to fruition and how this will continue to build upon the work of the trails that are already there to interconnect and make more. And the fact that I am not a big hiker and that it is a more natural grade is something I really like to see. So I'm excited to move forward in the public process with this and have it on for a public hearing in the council in the coming weeks. So thank you so much for all of your hard work. And I know you're more excited than the rest of us because you have been in this day in, day out. So thank you so much.
Thanks, Ms. Anderson. I appreciate those comments. Are there any more questions from council? Otherwise, I'm going to go to public comment. Seeing none, there is a caller whose number is ending in 744. I think that your hand went up right when the presentation started. So if you do have a comment with regard to any other item relating to parks and conservation, go ahead and make those, or with regard to Dean Stone. I'm going to let you in right now. And if you unmute yourself, caller whose number is ending in 744. If you unmute yourself, you should be able to speak. Seven, 4, 4. Okay, I am going to actually.
Hello, can anybody hear me?
Yeah, now we can hear you. Okay, great. Go ahead.
Sorry, everyone. Hi, this is Mike Foote, technological Luddite who is learning how to unmute my phone, and also a community member here in town, business owner, open space appreciator and daily user, also a Five Valleys Land Trust board member who has had the joy of watching this process move through just over the years to where we are today. And I, at this point, would only be echoing a lot of what Pela had to say, what Amber had to say, what Grant had to share, but I couldn't speak more proudly of the rigorousness of the last few years, the strength of the coalition of groups, organizations, stakeholders, individuals in our community who care so much about conservation, about recreation, about wildlife habitat, and the many discussions we've had in the last 4 years to get to this point. And the popularity of open spaces has, it's something we know and love here in Missoula, but just 2020 has accelerated that so much. And it's obvious, through the popularity of the Barmeyer Trail already on the lower flanks of Dean Stone, and our trails in general, the use they're getting this year. It's obvious that having an asset like Dean Stone on the south side of town makes so much sense for our mental health, for our physical health, therefore our public health as a community. And it's a really exciting time. I appreciate everybody considering this land acquisition and all the work that's gone in from all the community players over the years. And it's fun to just witness it and see that excitement for open space and conservation. And trails and recreation in Missoula. So thanks everyone, and thanks for all you're doing in 2020. It's a wild year, and we really appreciate it here from the community.
Thank you, Mike. I appreciate that. And I appreciate all the work that you've put into this over the years. I know that has been significant. So I appreciate you coming to comment today. And I am going to now let in, let's see, caller whose number is ending in 242. If you can unmute yourself. And all right, you're in the Parks and Conservation Committee. Please go ahead.
Hi there. Can you guys hear me?
We can.
Awesome. My name is Abigail Marshall, and I'm so excited to be able to speak in favor of the city acquisition of this area. I want to share an experience that I had. I work at a group home with teenagers in town, and part of our program is to encourage outdoor physical activity, and that is typically a bit of a struggle. And I want to share a story of a time when that wasn't a struggle, and it happened on Mount Deanstone through a mountain bike Missoula event. And there's a particular resident that I had a really hard time connecting with. Didn't have a lot of common ground. I like to saute kale. He's more of a burger guy. But the one thing that we could connect on was bikes. And Ben Huron reached out and let us know about this event that was going on. And it was this like 20-mile bike ride. And I brought it up to the kid thinking like, okay, well, maybe we can just go on part of it. There's no way in heck that he's going to make it through the whole thing. And long story short, he was interested. We went on the ride, and I mean, we walked our bikes for about 15 miles but through some of the most gorgeous areas. And for this person, it was a real turning point for him. He had trouble connecting with Missoula, feeling like it was too city for him. But then seeing this side of town made him connect with the area. And he's since moved on, but months after he left the group home, I got a call, and it was this kid, and we chit the chat for a little bit, and then he brought up that bike ride of all the memories that he had in Missoula as one of his favorite moments. And I really think that speaks to the way this area can bring together all types of people and is a really unique place. So thanks so much for all the work that y'all have put in, and I'm really excited that this process is moving forward.
Great, thank you. Thanks for sharing that story. We are kind of out of time here. So I don't, oh, wait, I see one. Nope, I don't see any more hands up. So that's good. We're out of time. So I need to take a vote. Again, this is to set a public hearing. So there will be more time. If you have any additional questions or information that you need to get answered, I suggest you go ahead and send that to Grant in the meantime. But I am going to do a roll call vote. Anderson.
Yes.
Becerra.
Yes.
Contos.
Yes.
Harp.
Yes.
Hess.
Yes.
Jones.
Yes.
Merritt.
Yes.
Ramos.
Yes.
Cheryl's yes. Vasika.
Yes.
Von Lossberg is not here. And West.
Yes.
Great, thank you. That is 11 out of 11. That can just go ahead and go on the consent agenda. And then we will have a public hearing then in November. So thank you everyone for your work on this. And thanks for the presentation, Payla and Grant, even though we heard most of it, Grant. And we will look forward. I don't have anyone else. I thought I had another attendee. So I will, we'll look forward to hearing more from you guys and getting this thing done, hopefully. So have a good day, everyone. I'm going to adjourn the